welcome to Vols Society Live on another Wednesday night. My name is David Morrison. I am the Vols Society analyst right here on the Vols Society Network. Thank you for joining us tonight on Facebook and on YouTube. Don't forget our Facebook page if you want to follow along, facebook.com/UT Vols Society. Continuing to grow leaps and bounds every day, bringing you the latest at the University of Tennessee. Also, if you're watching us on YouTube, welcome also. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as we will bring you Vols Society Live each and every Wednesday night. And, of course, you're a part of the show, too, so go ahead, chat away in whether you're watching us on Facebook or on YouTube, and we'll try to read your comments throughout the show. Once again, we got another loaded show tonight. We're going to talk about Tennessee basketball. Men's basketball, the shocking loss, I guess you can say, last Saturday in Kentucky, although Kentucky was a favorite. But we'll talk about what happened this past Saturday. But then again, Tennessee men's basketball team did play last night. We'll talk about that game against Vanderbilt. The Lady Vols, as our founder Brad has chimed in tonight, he said, how about them Lady Vols? And they had an excellent game Sunday. We'll talk about their game on this past Sunday against Kentucky on Pat's We Back Pat Day, Pat Summit Appreciation Day. Of course, they always honor our legendary Lady Vols head coach, the GOAT, to be exact, as we raise awareness for Alzheimer's, and we'll really dive into that. We'll talk about the baseball team. They received their preseason rankings in both the D1 baseball poll and the Perfect Game baseball poll in the top 20. We'll kind of talk about that, and won't be a full baseball preview, but just kind of see where Tennessee baseball goes ahead. Josh Heupel picked up a major coaching award this past week. We'll talk about that. Very, very worthy of having that award. Tennessee tennis team. They're the number one team in the nation in the ITA tennis poll. We'll talk about that. The women's tennis team also getting underway, and an update on Harrison Bailey, where he's going. So we got a menu and a half to talk about. So let's go ahead and dive into Tennessee basketball. Turn this light really quick so it don't shine in my eye there. All right. Tennessee men's basketball. Saturday's game against Kentucky, very ugly. Kentucky absolutely shot the ball lights out. Kudos where credit's due. I mean, they shot 78% from the field, and you know you don't see a lot of college basketball teams do that night in and night out. But Kentucky really just ran us out of the gym, and we just kind of didn't have an answer in that. And we kind of wondering what's going on. Harris Miss K chiming in. What's up with the men's basketball? It's just trying to once again find an identity on offense. Although, they performed a little bit better Saturday despite the final score being what it is. And then last night they actually did somewhat better. Of course, Coach Barnes switching up the lineup last night. I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit to last night's game against Vanderbilt, which was an 8-point Tennessee win, 68-60 the final score. But Coach Barnes still trying to figure out this team, and here we are midway through January, and it's just it's interesting to see. Hello to my grandparents as they just chimed in, and Miss K says the Lady Vols scare me at times. We'll break them down in just a minute. But yeah, Coach Barnes kind of switching up the lineup. He started Euros Plastics last night, but he did fairly well. He got 13 points last night. Vescovy got 14. Chandler with 13. So, their final stats last night wasn't too bad. They shot 33% from the field, which is kind of normal, what a lot of teams have been shooting this year. 3-point shooting, 21%, still needs to be better, no doubt about it. And the free throw shooting, 86%, a little bit better, but their free throw shooting has really dropped in conference play, and that's really going to be concerning going down the stretch for Tennessee. And like I said, that was at South Carolina. It was just really awful. But we'll see how they'll go. Saturday's game is a huge game for the Vols. You get LSU again. You just played LSU 2 weeks ago at Baton Rouge, so you should be mentally fresh of what to expect for this Tigers team. You get them at home. Thompson Boling is going to be rocking and rolling because those Saturday games always are a little bit more amped up. This is a must-win game for Rick Barnes coming up this weekend against LSU. Like I said, I'm still kind of surprised Tennessee made the top 25 poll this week, to be honest with you. Like I said, we're 12-5 on the year, 3-3 in conference play after last night's win. And, yeah, the 5 losses that we did have on the year are teams that's currently in the top 25. And so there's not any terrible losses, but, I mean, the eye test is a big key factor. And, like I said, Tennessee just is struggling offensively to find out, who they are. And, like I said, I like Kennedy Chandler. I think he's a solid point guard for us. I mean, he's a one-and-done guy, to be exact. But Zakir Ziegler, to me, right now, has probably been the best overall player on this team. Obviously, you don't want to run 2-point guards. Brad says we are not a top 25 team. I agree. I think the only reason we're still in the top 25 is because, the 5 losses we have are teams that's currently ranked, and they thought, well, Tennessee, these losses don't look too bad. And even, your tournament bracketology experts kind of looking at it too. It's like, well, Texas Tech's in the top 20. Kentucky's not a bad loss, LSU. But like I said, the eye test, we see it every game. We definitely should not be in the top 25. And like I said, I was surprised that we were still ranked number 24 going into this week's poll. And, if we continue to win, obviously we'll stay in there, which is always a good thing. But, the eye test is really a key factor. But I really want to see Zakir Ziegler getting that starting lineup. Like I said, I know you got Chandler at the point. Ziegler's of a smaller player than Vescovy and James. But right now, I think you need to go with your hot players in your starting lineup. Like I said, Ziegler is a big key factor. Justin Powell had 8 points last night. It seems he got a couple 3-pointers, 2 out of the 5 for Tennessee. So it seems like he's finally getting into some sort of a groove. And like I said, I'm not trying to ridicule a lot of our veteran players. I mean, Vescovy's kind of, you never know what you're going to get with him. I mean, he's still averaging double-digit points a game. It's just the consistency of him. Same thing with James. I mean, matter of fact, James didn't even score any points last night. He actually played 4 minutes, and then he was done. So it's kind of remarkable to see that. And of course, I didn't, going back to Saturday, I didn't really get to see much of the Kentucky game. It was trying not to go too deep with my normal 9-to-5 job, but it was my scheduled Saturday to work that day. So I didn't get to see the full game, but I did see the highlights, and it wasn't pretty. But like I said, Saturday's game at LSU, to me, this is a must-win game for Rick Barnes. We got to get another big win on the year if you want to stay in the top 25 and pick up and like I said, we haven't really had besides the Arizona game, but we haven't had a big conference win at home this year. Matter of fact, we really haven't had a major conference win at all so far in SEC play. So this needs to be a big game. Brad says, hate to say, I think we'll lose Saturday. Possibility. I mean, like I said, LSU is a really good team in the SEC. But to me, if Tennessee really wants to consider a serious threat in the SEC, or at least, make it to a bye in the SEC tournament, you got to start winning these home and home series. Brad says, I hope I'm wrong. Who knows? It's going to be interesting. Like I said, one thing about, the SEC tournament, I know that's still a long ways off, but at least, if you finish in the top 4 in the SEC, you get a double bye in the SEC tournament. So that means you don't get to play till Friday. And I think if you finish in the top 6, you get just 1 bye. Game time. That game will be 6 o'clock on ESPN. So Tennessee LSU Saturday at 6 o'clock on ESPN. Of course, I'm a Titans fan, so that is right at the same time my Titans are playing the Bengals in the AFC divisional round. So I'll be have the double screen going. Probably more focused on the football game at this time. But that's kind of look at the men. Like I said, big game coming up on Saturday. Brad says tighten up. All right, switching to the Lady Vols. Lady Vols had a huge win Sunday afternoon against the Kentucky Wildcats, a top 20 program, 84-58. And I'm really loving Kelly Harper's team. They really, after when Tamara King rolled her ankle in the game Sunday, it was like, oh man, can this team respond after having an injury to a big key player? And the answer was yes. Tennessee, to me, is very well coached right now with Kelly Harper. I'm really happy for her having this successful season, beating a big-time program in Kentucky. Ryan Howard, one of the best players in the nation, and really in the nation. It's just remarkable. Yeah, Ms. K says men just do not have the chemistry together yet. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's pretty right now, kind of pretty obvious. Let's see. All right. Yeah, like I said, it's just remarkable just to see the turnaround of what Coach Harper has done to this point. They don't have a midweek game this week. Normally they play Sunday, Thursday games, but no Thursday game this week. But as far as Georgia goes, or as far as next Sunday goes, they get Georgia in Athens, another top 20 program, 2 o'clock tip-off on the SEC network. So next Sunday. And this is another big game for Coach Harper, but I'm really loving the confidence of this team. I think this team can go undefeated up until when we play UConn. And that UConn game is coming up on February the 6th in Hartford. Like I said, still got some games to play, but I really love the confidence of this team, the team chemistry. Ray Burrell just came back, I guess a couple of games ago after getting injured the first game of the year. She had an excellent game, and her shot is just absolutely gorgeous to watch. And Brad says we can go all the way. I really do believe it. I'll say this, South Carolina is still the number one team in the nation, despite which I still don't get how, because they lost to an unranked Missouri team. I guess just in SEC play. I think it was right at the beginning of SEC play, but somehow I guess they're still number one. But it is what it is. I'm not going to go down that road. Like I said, that we do play South Carolina on February the 20th. It's a noon tip-off on ESPN2. That's, like I said, still a long ways away and still got a lot of basketball, obviously. But, if we can get by UConn, that's going to be the game of the year right there, Tennessee, South Carolina. And obviously this will not be the last time we see we won't see South Carolina, because I guarantee we will meet each other in the SEC tournament, which the SEC men's and women's basketball tournaments are in different locations this year. In years past, the men's tournament has always been in Nashville, and the women's tournament, SEC tournament, has been in Greenville, South Carolina. Well, this year, Greenville, South Carolina is one of the host cities for the men's NCAA tournament. So, obviously, I guess they can't really have two tournaments kind of coexisting at the same time. So, the women's tournament is moved to Nashville, Tennessee, and the men's tournament is down in Tampa, Florida, which really makes no sense, but that's another discussion for another day. But, as far as Lady Vols fans go, if Tennessee runs the table, and, I hope we don't lose to South Carolina, I hope we beat South Carolina, but if somehow South Carolina beats us and wins the regular season tournament, that SEC or regular season championship, that SEC tournament is the Lady Vols tournament to lose. I mean, they will be the heavy favorites, especially playing in Nashville. Lady Vol Nation is going to be rocking and rolling. Bridgestone Arena it's going to be like during the men's tournament when it's all Big Blue Nation. Well, Lady Vol Nation is going to take over that women's tournament. once we get down there. And I truly believe this is a legit Final Four team. Matter of fact, I would love to play Stanford again, and maybe we can meet each other in the NCAA tournament. But like I said, still a lot of basketball to go, one game at a time, and it starts with another top 20 matchup against Georgia. And then, we got Auburn on January the 27th. And like I said, this Georgia game coming up, and then the next big challenge obviously will be UConn as we start February. So that's a look at the Lady Vols. Go Lady Vols, go. I can't wait to see what's going to happen. All right, moving on to baseball really quick. Tennessee baseball team preseason rankings were announced this week. They will start number 19 in the Division I, the D1 baseball poll, and number 18 in the perfect game baseball poll, kind of similar to the AP and the coaches poll, since there's not really an AP or coaches poll in college baseball. They go by this D1 baseball poll and perfect game, which is two of the more reliable sources. So, yeah, and we're just less than 30 days away from the first game of the year with the baseball team as they open up their season February the 18th on a Friday afternoon against Georgia Southern, a weekend series at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. Like I said, you got, as far as some of the roster coming back, really quick, I'll pull it up if it will cooperate. I know Drew Gilbert's coming back next year. You got Drew Gilbert coming back from last year's team. Evan Russell. Brad asks, is the baseball team getting any stadium upgrades? I hadn't heard anything. I know the more focus, has been on Neyland Stadium this year, and right now they're already doing the renovations at Neyland Stadium and kind of giving some updates. And they did like a architect 3D photo of the new Jumbotron in the north end zone, which is a little smaller than what I thought it was going to be, but it's still going to be beneficial. But I hadn't heard anything about Lindsey Nelson Stadium yet. Not saying that they haven't done anything, but I really think they need to go ahead and do some renovations to it, kind of visualize a little bit. The front of the stadium at Lindsey Nelson on University of Tennessee's campus is actually pretty nice. They got a nice entranceway exterior as far as the stadium. And, of course, the field is fairly nice too. But behind center field, there's CSX Railroad headquarters is right back there. And it's kind of a curvy road, and you got a lot of chain link fences, and you got, kind of a little bit mismatched parking. I think, I don't know how you can't really redo the dimensions of that area too much, but I think, kind of driving behind the outfield is a little bit of an eyesore because you got kind of like this chain link fence, and then you got like a banner of like past UT players, which is kind of cool, but it's also kind of cheap looking, to be honest. So, I don't know, maybe make the exterior and the outfield a little bit more presentable. I guess that would be kind of the big eyesore for me, because most of y'all know I take the bus from Foothills Mall in Maryville, Tennessee to Neyland Stadium, and they drop us off just right down from Lindsey Nelson Stadium. So that's kind of like the big eyesore for me, just from the outside looking in, I guess. That's really kind of the only renovations. I mean, obviously, I'm sure there's some more modern amenities. I think maybe I know some of the other college baseball stadiums, like particularly Mississippi State, they have kind of like their tailgate area in the outfield, and you kind of see it, people on grills and stuff. That'd be kind of something cool. Ole Miss at Swayze Field, they have seating in the outfield, so maybe some sort of outfield seating, maybe kind of more down the third base line. I think it's pretty bare down third base line. Just make it a authentic modern college baseball stadium, but should be quite interesting to see. Like I said, I mentioned Drew Gilbert, the World Series hero from last year. He's coming back. He's just a junior. Evan Russell's coming back. I think he's a super senior, if I'm not mistaken. Christian Scott, you're going to hear a lot about him next year. And look at some others. Camden Sewell from Cleveland, Tennessee, just right down the road from me. I I think he's going to get a lot of playing time. He'll probably be one of your top pitchers next year. Jordan Beck, Blake Tidwell, Kirby Connell. I mean, just Luke Lippius, who is a senior who looks like he's about 40 years old also. But, it's kind of that some of those that College World Series team from last year, some familiar names. And we'll really break it down here in a couple of weeks when we go more in depth with this baseball team. But, excited to see what this team will do for next year. And like I said, some big games coming up. Texas, if you're curious, Texas was named the preseason #1 team in both the polls. Arkansas was the highest ranked SEC team at #2. So let's y'all see what Tony Vitello has up his sleeves for 2022 and the baseball team. Should be very interesting. Switching over to tennis really quick. I had a request last week to talk about Tennessee tennis team and some good news. Today, Tennessee's men's tennis team was named the new #1 team in the ITA tennis poll. So congratulations to Chris Woodward in the tennis program. They won the SEC championship last year, finished in the Final Four in the NCAA men's tennis tournament. Doing a great job. Hey, we're #1 in a sport at Tennessee, and that just proves the Danny White effect is taking in full effect. And when we get into Josh Heupel, I'll kind of break it down, just the entire year of Tennessee sports. But congratulations to the tennis team doing a good job. Their season's underway. Their next tennis matchup, Tuesday, January 25th at 1 o'clock when they take on Wake Forest. Brad says, nice. Now, Dr. Danny is the man. But yes, absolutely. I can't wait to kind of break it down when we get into Josh Heupel a little bit. But yeah, there's some big-time tennis matchups, just kind of looking at their schedule here. They're taking on Ohio State coming up on February the 4th. They host Charlotte. I think I read the women's tennis team is going to be in Charlotte, Brad. It's coming up pretty soon. I think if I saw that in my research. As far as the women's tennis team goes, they were, I think they're starting their season at number 22. They were picked 5th in the SEC preseason poll. Here we go. Friday, Tennessee Lady Vols tennis team will be in Charlotte to take on the 49ers. And then they will be in Winston-Salem in kind of a mini tournament matchup with Wake Forest and Davidson. So right there in Brad's neck of the woods, catch the Lady Vols there. They played North Carolina. Yeah, Brad says nice. Lady Vols tennis team played in the Tar Heel Invitational on January the 7th and January the 9th. Matter of fact, Tennessee Lady Vols doubles team, pull their name up really quick here. All right, so the Tennessee women's double team of Daria Kusser and Tanika McGiffin, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, they defeated the #1 doubles team in the nation for North Carolina in this invitational. So congratulations to these two Lady Vols picking up a big tennis win. And that was in the first day of the Tar Heel Invitational. And then on that Sunday, Tennessee Lady Vols team picked up 7 wins, including a top 20 victory. So good. Tennessee women's tennis team doing a great job so far. Matter of fact, Tina McGiffin, who I mentioned in the doubles, she defeated the number 19th ranked singles player in the country, who is at North Carolina. So congratulations to the tennis team doing a good job so far, and can't wait to follow them the rest of the season. All right. Switching over. Yeah, let's talk about Josh Heupel. All right, so Josh Heupel this week was named the Steve Spurrier first year, what was the name of it? Let me get it correctly. The Steve Spurrier First Year Coach of the Year Award. So congratulations to Josh Heupel. Matter of fact, he's actually sharing that award with Shane Beamer at South Carolina, which I think these two coaches are probably going to be locked at the hip for years to come, since they both started in the SEC and both turning these programs around. You're probably going to hear comparisons next year. But you think about what Josh Heupel has done. 364 days ago, Josh Heupel was hired at the University of Tennessee right after Jeremy Pruitt was fired, I think 2 days earlier. And, of course, Pruitt was let go. Philip Fulmer resigned. Just kind of they clean house, basically. And Josh Heupel, of course, Danny White entered in as the AD, and obviously he had the connections with Josh Heupel at UCF, and then and Josh Heupel kind of walked into a mess left by Jeremy Pruitt. Rock bottom where he came from, and then as soon as Josh Heupel got in, you had this NCAA investigation from the Jeremy Pruitt era. You didn't know what was going to happen. And then, obviously, when you have a new head coach come in, you're going to have players transfer. And a lot of Jeremy Pruitt's guys end up transferring. So Josh Heupel had no idea who he was going to have on this football team, going into spring practice. I mean, it was just kind of nameless players for the most part. But like I mentioned in several videos, the transfer portal was a blessing to the University of Tennessee, and you had a lot of guys that just stuck around, like, let's see what he can bring. And now, fast forward 1 year later, you're coming off of a 7-6 first year when you were picked by a lot of people to win 4 games, maybe 5 games. You win 7 games. You beat the teams you're supposed to beat, or at least in the preseason picks for the most part. And you brought excitement to the University of Tennessee, and it was paid off in the end. As far as all the first-year head coaches in college football last year, Josh Heupel won the most games at 7. All right, well, I guess him and Shane Bieber did, but but Josh Heupel, like I said, just basically was at rock bottom, like Brad said, and managed to pull off 7 wins, and a lot of players was coached very well. And he had we had chances several times throughout the year to beat teams that we should have beat, as Brad mentioned. Like I said, I would love to go back and play Florida again. I mean, you had the eventual ACC champion Pittsburgh Panthers on the ropes for the most part. Of course, we didn't know they were going to be the champions at that time. Ole Miss, just a crazy night that game turned out to be, with Lane Kiffin returning. And I mean, if you would imagine grabbing them 3 wins, I mean, a 10-win season for having an NCAA investigation, and your coach got let go right in January when you don't need to be making head coaching changes and trying to bring a recruiting class in and spring practice. I mean, Josh Heupel deserved that award, and I kind of wish he won it by himself, but it is what it is. I'm just happy that he's getting the recognition that he deserves. And like I said, just the mess that what Jeremy Pruitt left, compared to where Josh Heupel is just truly amazing. And 2022 is looking very promising for Tennessee. Let's see if they got this schedule for next year already posted. I mean, I kind of know it. I hit the wrong button here. Here we go. Yeah, they do. Cool. All right. Let's see if I can get it pulled up really quick. Yeah, 2022, like I said, you open the season up against Ball State at home. Obviously, should be an easy win. Then you go to Pittsburgh. You get that revenge game with the Pitt Panthers. Brad said, heck of a year it was. Absolutely. You get Akron at home. And I mentioned this in previous videos also. September 24th, circle that date. That's the Florida game. If Tennessee wants to be a serious threat in the SEC East and to get back to the dominance that they once were, you got to beat Florida this year. No questions asked. No more excuses. This is the year we have to take down the Gators. I mean, Billy Napier is kind of in the similar situation that Josh Heupel was in, trying to find players and didn't have a great recruiting class. I think he's going to have a good transfer portal. Brad says we're going to win that game. I really do too. I think we have a great shot at winning that game. But like I said, we've kind of seen this story way too many times. like I said, this has to be the year to take down Florida. I want to see, obviously, as Tennessee fans, we want to see Florida not recover from it, but it's going to be very interesting. Brad says, I'm calling it now. We're going to go 4-0. I think so. Because right after that Florida game, we get a bye week, I think. Yeah, because that'd be the first. So we get a bye week before we head down to Death Valley to take on LSU. Now, LSU is going to be the big mystery next year with Brian Kelly. Miss K says we hope. Yep. And Brian says, yeah. LSU is going to be a big mystery. I have no idea what to expect from this team. We can go down there and pull a big win out, and then again, I could see us go down there and lose that game. So that LSU game is, like I said, just kind of I don't really know what to expect. And probably once we get into spring practice and everybody gets the roster situation situated out, then we can probably get a better idea of them. October 15th, you get Alabama at home. Alabama's, of course, bringing back everybody. Bryce Young, Will Anderson Jr., definitely going to be the favorites to win the national championship next year. I'm not expecting much from that game, but I would love to see Tennessee still be competitive, kind of like they were last year. Going into this game, you're going to have Neyland Stadium. Your home fans going to be there. Brad's saying 9 wins next year, and I really hope, with these renovations to the stadium, I know ticket prices are going to be still kind of skyrocket, especially a game with Alabama. But I'm kind of getting sick and tired of seeing Alabama fans just kind of invade Neyland Stadium, and it looks like an extra Alabama game. We need to get Tennessee fans in there and outnumber these Alabama fans and Florida fans and some of the heavyweights of the SEC. I mean, like when we play South Carolina and Vanderbilt and Kentucky and Missouri, I mean, yeah, it's going to be more Tennessee fans, but I have seen, more of the heavyweights, the Alabamas, the Georgias, even Florida's, more of their fans have been showing up. So let's get that changed. Like I said, UT Martin on the 22nd at home should be an easy win. Kentucky at home should be an easy win. Go down to Georgia on November the 5th. Missouri, South Carolina, November 19th is going to be a very interesting matchup. That's right before the Vanderbilt game, and it's kind of, like I said, sandwiched between Missouri and Vanderbilt. So we should know a lot about South Carolina going into that one. So, yeah, I'm thinking about 8-4, 9-3 next year if everything goes great, and depends on who we get in the transfer portal. Obviously, having Hendon Hooker, Cedric Tillman in the offense. Miss K says she can't stand the A-team. That A-team, yeah, I agree. Like I said, having Hendon Hooker and having Cedric Tillman back on the offense, your running backs are coming back. I really love this offense. I think we're going to score a lot of points next year. Just get everybody healthy and polish some things out on the offensive line. Defense is going to be, I wouldn't say a question mark, but going to be somewhat promising to see next year, and should be very exciting to see. Switching over to former Tennessee players, Harrison Bailey, former Tennessee quarterback, announced his new school that he is committed to, and that is the UNLV Rebels. UNLV picks up Harrison Bailey. I wish nothing but the best for Harrison Bailey. I have no hard feelings for him. It just didn't work out in the end for him, and hopefully he can go to UNLV and have a promising career. Mr. Rogers says, have to start scheduling tougher non-conference games. Well, it's quite interesting. Tennessee today announced, for 2029-2030, Tennessee will be doing a home-and-home with the Washington Huskies. I don't know how Washington's going to be in 6 years, but it's interesting that you mentioned that today. As far as non-conference games go, I know we get Pitt next year, which, it kind of wraps up the home and home with them. We get one more game with BYU. It's in Provo, which BYU should be in the Big 12 by that point. Tennessee is still scheduled to do a home and home in Nebraska. Now, that's, I think, in 2025, I believe, or 2026, I believe. 2026, 2027, somewhere in that neighborhood. Who knows how Nebraska is going to be. It's going to be, I agree, maybe schedule somebody a little bit more of a name. I would love to, maybe, and it's kind of hard to figure out which teams are going to be good in 5-6 years as far as non-conference goes. I would love to play Notre Dame again. We've had some interesting home series with them, obviously, in the early 90s and in the early 2000s. I think, going back to South Bend would be interesting and be great for these, for the program. And then having Notre Dame come back to Neyland Stadium kind of renew some sort of not really a rivalry, but maybe a home series. I will, I know Florida State is down, but, I would love to play Florida State again, maybe do a home. I believe they would be down for that. Miami, another home with them. Virginia Tech, I know we did the battle at Bristol, but I think they would be willing to do it. It's kind of weird doing these home series, with these Power 5 schools, because you got to plan it ahead 5-6 years in advance, which I'm not sure why. That's kind of too hard for me to think that way. But, I will, just kind of some good dream matchups. And I'm starting to notice in a lot of these neutral site games, I mean, you're still going to have your Chick-fil-A kickoff games and the one down in Dallas, and they're still scheduled for the next, 4 or 5 years. But I'm seeing more home series kind of popping up. Matter of fact, next year, Alabama, who normally plays in the Chick-fil-A kickoff game or the one in Dallas, they're not going to participate in either one. Matter of fact, they're starting a home series with Texas next year before the Longhorns join the SEC. So Alabama goes to Austin, Texas, I believe, on the second Saturday of September. And I know if you go to FBschedules.com, they've got, every college football team scheduled for like the next 10 years, pretty much, like at least the non-conference. And so I remember seeing, few months ago, just kind of looking at different teams, and I noticed some more home series kind of popping up. I just can't remember off the top of my head who's scheduling who, but there's some pretty promising games. But yeah, Tennessee, 2029, 2030, they'll take on the Washington Huskies. The first game will be in Knoxville. The second game will be in Seattle. Of course, they're kind of building this matchup, the Vol Navy versus the Husky Harbor. If you don't know, you can kind of like the Vol Navy, you can take your boat to Neyland Stadium. Well, at Washington, you can take your boat to Husky Stadium. It's right there. I'm not sure what body of water it's near. I wouldn't say maybe the Pacific Ocean. I'm assuming, but I don't know. So they're kind of building it as more like a boating series, if you will. But could be interesting to see. That's kind of what's been going on as far as University of Tennessee goes. As far as this weekend goes, Tennessee men's basketball, Saturday, 6 o'clock against LSU. This the second time we played them in 2 weeks. So hopefully Tennessee will be ready this time to play them. Lady Vols plays at Georgia on Sunday. Another top 20 showdown. Like I said, feeling very confident with this team. More news and notes popping up. Mentioned Harrison Bailey going to UNLV. Wish him nothing but the best. Hopefully he does very well in Vegas. Just don't get too much trouble out there. It's just, like I said, we're just continuing to roll along. And like I said, we'll continue to bring you more content right here on Vol Society Facebook page. And, of course, right here each and every Wednesday for Vol Society Live. We'll go ahead and kind of wrap it up. Like I said, a lot to talk about tonight, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of sports going on. Made one addition. I have a softball picture. It's kind of small to see, but I have the 2019 Tennessee Lady Vols softball seniors, Maddie Moss, let me remember who's on there. Maddie Moss, Haley Bearden, Savannah Huster, and Katie Winter. I met them at Orange Mountain Designs, which used to be in the Foothills Mall, which is primarily a Lady Vols store. They've moved to a different location, but I met them 2-3 years ago. And also at the same time, I met Mickey DeMoss, who just got done writing a book of quotes that Pat Summitt used to say in her coaching days. And I've got it on my bookshelf over here. Just really good stuff. And once we get into the month of February, February is Women's Sports Month across the nation. I want to really dive into some more of the careers of different Lady Vols and kind of more into Pat Summitt. I definitely want to do. I know this is still a long ways away, but in June, will be was supposed to be Pat Summitt's 70th birthday. So once we get closer to her birthday, I really want to dive in to Pat Summitt's career and legacy, and just what a trailblazer she has been to not only just for the game of basketball, particularly women's basketball, but for all of women's sports, and just kind of the impact she's made throughout. And like I said, and like I said, also next month, we're really going to dive into some more the history of the Lady Vols players with basketball, even some softball players. We got Olympic gold medalists and Olympians in general, that has came through the University of Tennessee. Miss K says Pat Summitt's she's my hero. Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I never personally got to meet Pat Summitt. The only, I guess, time I ever interacted with her, I can think of 3 different occasions. One time at the Tennessee-Troy football game, the homecoming game, she was honored at halftime, I believe, when she went into the Lady Vols Hall of Fame. So, I remember kind of seeing her walk on the field. I was kind of in the lower bowl, which not much of an interaction, but just kind of a memory I have. And then one Tennessee football game, probably 10, 15 years ago, I was just walking in Neyland Stadium, and she happened to walk right by me, and I was just like, oh, my goodness, that was Coach Summitt. Just kind of just out of the blue, and by the time I noticed that she was already gone, so I wish I paid attention a lot sooner. But probably my favorite personal Pat Summitt story, and I remember this very well. So in 2010, January 2010, so 12 years ago, Tennessee was playing Vanderbilt in a men's basketball game, and it was ESPN College Game Day happened to be up there. They were doing like a College Game Day doubleheader. Like the men's game played at 12 o'clock, and the Lady Vols played like at 7 o'clock, and they both played Vanderbilt that same day. So I remember this game very well. Like I said, the game day people was right above us. So Reese Davis and Jay Billis and Digger Phelps and whoever else was there. And I remember looking, and I was in the 300 section, which is the upper bowl at at Thompson Bowling Arena. And I remember looking down the sideline right near the announcer's table on the court, and Pat Summitt was sitting next to Bobby Goodfriend, who owns Goody's Family Clothing, or who was the former owner of Goody's Family Clothing at the time. And I remember she had on this like lavender, jogging suit, and she was watching the men's game play, and it was a pretty close game. And I'll never forget this because, like I said, it was a back and forth game between Tennessee and Vanderbilt. And I remember Coach Summitt, in the whole entire second half was just standing up. Just, it's probably not going to look right, but, she's kind of standing up, and she was kind of like bent over. And I remember, and I sit next to that, and I said, look at this. She's over there almost coaching this team. And it was very interesting because she was just so focused on this team, and you could tell that, she's kind of nodding and kind of like looking and analyzing. And it was just so cool to see. I mean, right during the men's game, because I know what she was thinking, like, I will do that differently. I will do that one differently. And not to be mean, but that's just the competitor she was. And I was more mesmerized just kind of watching her just doing this and not really walking up and down the sideline, but just kind of just really focus into the game. And I just like, that's why she's the best. And Tennessee ended up winning in that game against Vanderbilt. Tobias Harris was on that team, and I think Josh Richardson and so many others. But that's kind of my personal favorite Pat Summitt story. It was just, just watching her just as a fan, but standing up and just analyzing the game, and it's just having that stare. And I'm excited to really kind of dive into her career. And I wish she was still with us, but Alzheimer's is just a terrible disease, and we lost a legend, but like I said, her legacy lives on. We see it, with her former players, who are now coaches, and players like Candace Parker, who's one of the biggest sports celebrities in the world. With Shamika Holtzclaw, Tamika Catchings. The list goes on and on and on and on. And it's just remarkable what she has done, not only to women's basketball, but for just women's sports in general, and how it's just transitioned. Even, I think about even, somebody like Courtney Lyle, who called the game Sunday, who's a UT graduate. Pat Summitt, quick side story here. Pat Summitt was a big part of just putting women's basketball on TV. Now you see, like I say, you see a lot of women's games on TV today, whether on ESPN or Fox or wherever, but, that wasn't the case 30 years ago. I mean, women's basketball was just almost it was just, almost a club sport to a certain degree, but Pat Summitt was a big key part of that. And she made sure that, to get women's basketball in the school newspaper, and then transition to the Knoxville newspaper, and all across the state of Tennessee, and then broadcasting games on TV. And now you think about people like Courtney Lyle at ESPN, and Debbie Antonelli, and even, on a more national scale, like a Maria Taylor. I mean, like I said, Pat Summitt really brought, as far as women's basketball goes, and then it just umbrellaed out to women's and sports in general. And there will be not another Pat Summitt, and she will definitely, her legacy will live on forever. All right, that's going to wrap it up. We'll talk to y'all next Wednesday night for more news and notes. Once again, updating Tennessee men's and women's basketball season, and other stuff going on at the University of Tennessee. Hopefully we'll have another big show next week. So until then, we'll talk to you all next. Let me make sure that I am correct on that, because I think Tennessee – let me make sure I got the time right here. I just thought of that because I believe we got a Wednesday game coming up. January 26th. Okay, so Tennessee men's basketball team plays at 6 o'clock. We'll join y'all next Wednesday night following the Florida-Tennessee game. So probably we'll schedule it around 8 o'clock, but as soon as Florida and Tennessee goes off next Wednesday night, we'll join you right back for Vol Society Live. So like I said, make sure you turn on the notifications. Make sure you check the Facebook page. Like I said, we'll try to go at 8 o'clock next Wednesday night. But if the game does kind of run long, just make sure you keep checking the Facebook page. I'll update the time. But we'll join you next Wednesday night following the Florida-Tennessee men's basketball game. So until then, this has been David Morrison. Thank you for joining us on Vol Society Live. We'll catch you back here next Wednesday night. Have a great night, and go Vols.